President Trump made history. From the strike that took out Qasem Soleimani, to tearing up the disastrous Obama-Iran deal, to the precision campaign that obliterated Iran's nuclear sites in Operation Midnight Hammer, to the decisive military victory we just achieved in Operation Epic Fury. No other president has shown the courage and resolve of this commander-in-chief.
Yes, the Secretary of the entire Department of War, Pete Hegseth, this morning, summing things up, and I've got more of him, too. He started ticking off all the Iranian leaders that have been killed, and fascinating stuff. I always think when I think Operation Midnight Hammer, I always think that Paul Pelosi must freak out every time he hears that. And you think of a little panic attack. Nancy, not Operation Midnight Hammer again. All right, very good Wednesday, too. New York City is completely insane. They've got this jihadi communist who hates America and all people everywhere, especially white people and sane people and Christian people. Well, this guy's out of his mind. And he thinks that, you see what he's raging about in New York now? Zohran Kwame Mamdani. Raging lunatic. And he claims that in New York City, the average white person has a net worth of $200,000, and the average black person has a net worth of $20,000. For Democrats trying to follow along, that would be one-tenth the amount of money for black people, net worth versus white people. And it's got nothing to do with anything except your melanin levels, the color of your skin. White people are sinister and evil, and they're stealing from black people. It's not about working hard and staying smart and nose to the grindstone and going to school and doing stuff. It's not about any of that. And jobs are fleeing New York. Jobs are fleeing New York. This is the good people, the New York Post, on that. Not even 100 days into Mayor Zohran Mamdani's term, Gotham is already facing grim economic proposals. So what is His Honor focusing on? Why, racial equity, of course. Because the left uses race and ethnicity to pit groups against one another, and it always turns to violence with the left, as it has on so many occasions here in the United States with the Democrat Party. Over the weekend, Partnership for New York City CEO Steve Fulop warned that Wall Street firms, listen to this, Wall Street firms, the city's cash cows, are increasingly eyeing the exits to escape Mamdani's tax the rich crusade. J.P. Morgan chief Jamie Dimon sounded similar alarms, noting that New York's steep taxes and red tape, and then there's all the crime and the madness and the lunacy, throwing your grandmother onto the train tracks and nobody cares. And then if somebody tries to beat up the criminal on the train, then the Democrats try to put that man in prison for saving the day because they love crime and they're racist. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, the large exodus of business out of the city, Jamie Dimon, J.P. Morgan Chase, they're killing everything. Yesterday, I read to you how they want to have a 50% inheritance tax. So your grandfather dies, and Zohran Mamdani steals half of what, and it doesn't matter, it could be J.P. Morgan, and it could be worth $200 billion, and Zohran Mamdani is planning on stealing $100 billion from your grandfather's $200 billion earnings because they're criminals. That's the thing about them. They love crime, and they are crime, really. Now, back to Iran's proposed peace plan. I got to say, the 10 points are essentially all unacceptable. And the terrorists know this. The troglodytes from hell, they know this. That's Iran, right? Here's number one. The U.S. must fundamentally commit to guaranteeing non-aggression. I'm sorry, you're the terrorists here. So that's a no. No on number one. We cannot fundamentally commit to guaranteeing non-aggression. You are the aggressors here. You've been the aggressors for 47 years. Now you're getting your butts kicked. Sit down and take it. And, Iranian people, 92 million, rise up and take out this regime, and we will be there to back you up because we like civilization. We like peace rather than war. The Iran proposed peace deal, number 2. First, we must commit to guaranteeing non-aggression. Then, continuation of Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. Sorry, that's a no. You can't have continued control over the Strait of Hormuz. Number 3, acceptance that Iran can enrich uranium for its nuclear program. Not only no, but expletive deleted no. Expletive deleted no. Again, no. And, it's for peaceful purposes. We're one of the world's most oil-rich countries, but we really need nuclear energy. And that's why we need to keep enriching uranium. President Trump offered Iran the fuel that they need for nuclear energy, and they said, no, we'll do it ourselves. So they can secretly enrich it up to 90% to make weapons to murder millions of infidels, because that's their raison d'etre. That's their reason for being, right? So acceptance that Iran can enrich uranium for its nuclear program. I think not. That's what I think. Removal of all primary sanctions on Iran. No, but I think Obama did that. The Democrats did that. Number 5, removal of all secondary sanctions against foreign entities that do business with Iranian institutions. So breathe life back into their economy, relieve all sanctions, lift all sanctions on Iran, and that might be placed on anyone else doing business with Iran in violation of the sanctions. No. So that's a no for 1 through 5. No for 1, no for 2, no for 3. No, you can't continue to enrich uranium. You're terrorists, for the love of God. Number 6, end of all United Security Council resolutions. I think they meant to say United Nations, probably. End of all United Security Council resolutions targeting Iran. Again, yesterday there was a resolution that was brought up at the Security Council at the United Nations about the Strait of Hormuz and allowing traffic there. And China and Russia both vetoed because they're filthy communist murderers. And they've murdered more people than the Islamic Revolution could ever hope to murder. And they plan on continuing in the 21st century. And the Democrats are not on our side. End of all International Atomic Energy Agency resolutions on Iran's nuclear program. I'm sorry, what, the IAEA, a subsidiary of the United Nations? End of all IAEA resolutions on Iran's nuclear program. Okay, no. So that's no to 1 through 7. Number 8, compensation payment to Iran for war damage. Reparations. They want reparations. Democrats want reparations, too. They just want other people's stuff. And they form mobs, and they get guns, and they love civil war, the Democrats do. They gave us our first civil war. They're working on our second civil war. Number 9, withdrawal of U.S. combat forces from the region. No. We have forces in Kuwait, and we have ever since we liberated them from Iraq. We have forces in Saudi Arabia at the invitation of Saudi Arabia. We will not remove them based on Iran's say-so. The United Arab Emirates, the UAE, we have a presence there as well. The Horn of Africa, we've got a presence there. No, Iran does not tell the United States to evacuate the Middle East. That's not going to happen. Sorry. I'm not sorry. And number 10, cease fire on all fronts, including Israel's conflict with Hezbollah in Lebanon. No. All right, so that is no. Was there anything that was a 1? That was a yes. Was there 1? I don't think there was a single one. That's a yes. No, we're not lifting all sanctions on you and the people that break sanctions and supply you. There will not be a ceasefire on all fronts, including it's Hezbollah's conflict with Israel that we're talking about here, funded by Iran. And this is why we're bombing the snot out of you primitive, cave-dwelling, troglodyte murderers. Just saying. Right? Just saying. So here's my take on the 10 demands. All 10 are unambiguous no's. No wiggle room at all. Therefore, and we get to control the Strait of Hormuz. We get to enrich uranium. You don't, you're not the boss of me. Right? So we got that. All right, I've got my mailbag, and I'm concerned that I've got so much good mailbag stuff. I want to, let me jump into the mailbag now. I'm going to jump into the mailbag. John W. asks about the Newsmax TV show and the leftist that appears on it every night. Professor Jason Nichols of the University of Maryland. Is that a 4-year school? So John W., here's John W., is the professor on the Newsmax broadcast, the Right Squad, serious when he speaks on an issue, or is he advised to be ridiculously stupid, dishonest, and appearing to suffer from severe TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, if not suffering from leftist progressive lockstep disease? John W. asks. Well, John, let me see. What is the question? Is he advised to be ridiculously stupid, dishonest, and appearing to suffer from TDS? No. No, he doesn't know. The answer is no. He doesn't have. No, that's genuinely him, John. That is genuinely him. That's who he is. That's he really doesn't like me. And it's almost everybody likes me. Even the people that don't like me like me. This guy does not like me. Boy, does he not like me. And no, none of it is insincere. It's a mental illness, and it's Trump derangement syndrome on LSD and progressive lockstep disease. But he's not faking. That's true. That's where so much. He's a PhD. He's a doctor, like Dr. Jill Biden. And it's not that Democrats don't know anything. It's just so much of what they know is wrong, and he's a good example of that. But, John, I'm with you, as are millions of other people, and we've heard from a lot of people about the professor. He is a ratings killer, one-man ratings killer. Eric asks, hi, Chris. Just got my biannual summons for jury duty in Washington, D.C. As a D.C. resident yourself, I'm sure you've also been called many times. I have. Have you had any interesting trials, or are you always dismissed from serving as a celebrity? Well, that's funny. In the D.C. courthouse, thankfully, perhaps, I'm not a celebrity at all. But let me say, I have been called many times. And I go in, and I have never been asked to stay for a trial. I think that's true. Never been asked to stay for a trial. What happens, and this happened one time, several times ago, someone mentioned bringing back dittos earlier today. When Rush Limbaugh was still in Rush Limbaugh's seat, which he rightfully owned, he created and owned, and I was asked to come up to the judge with the defense attorneys on one side and the prosecutors on the other side. And the judge explained, we're going to ask you a few questions. How long have you lived in D.C.? What do you do for a living and stuff, right? And I got up there and I said, well, lived here a long time. And I'm a radio talk show host, Your Honor. And all the lawyers from both sides leaned in like it was a bad commercial for E.F. Hutton. They all leaned in. And then the judge said, a radio show. I said, yes, Your Honor, it's conservative political talk radio. And there was a murmuring. And I said, let me explain it this way. I'm on from 9 a.m. to noon, and then Rush Limbaugh is on from noon to 3 on my station. Right? And it couldn't have been faster. It was like, thank you. Get out. It was get out. Couldn't get out fast enough when I told him that. And now, quite honestly, they ask, it's a regular thing to ask, what do you do for a living? I say I'm the host of a conservative political radio talk show. And the defense attorneys just say that you can't get out of this room fast enough. And that's happened several times in various forms. The one time was great with Rush Limbaugh's on from noon to 3. And it was just like a Hollywood prank. Thank you. Goodbye. And I have more mailbag questions coming. And they've never asked me to stay. And the truth is, I'd be the most fair juror in the history of the world because I'm the most fair-minded person. The Democrats couldn't find a person as fair-minded as me. There isn't a Democrat in the country that is as fair-minded as me. And I have more mailbag questions coming up. Right now, there are a lot of voices in our culture that are loud and ignorant, but truth is often silent. And today, Preborn, the great people at Preborn, they need you to help speak that truth. Women facing unplanned pregnancies may be pressured to act quickly before they have time to pause, breathe, and to hear the truth about the life, dignity, and hope the baby growing inside of them. But I refuse to stay silent, and I'm asking you to join me. At Preborn Network Clinics, a woman is welcomed with compassion, with open arms, and given a free ultrasound to see the human life growing inside of her, often for the very first time. And in that sacred moment, fear very often gives way to clarity. And she's offered something the abortion industry would never provide: hope, the hope of Jesus Christ. This April, our goal is to have 11,000 gospel conversations in Preborn Network Clinics. You can help make that possible by sponsoring ultrasounds. Just $28 provides one ultrasound. $140 provides 5 ultrasounds from mothers in crisis. Every dollar helps to save the lives of unborn babies and to share the hope of the gospel. To donate, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, the keyword is baby, or go to Al Gore's Amazing Internet to preborn.com/plant. That's preborn.com/plant. Yes, sir. Yeah, all right, more mailbag questions coming up. I do love mailbag questions, and I want to get to everything. I'm going to try to get to everything. And we are at 888-630-9625. Yeah, my jury duty, they don't like me on jury duty in D.C. They think someone might be found guilty, and they like to let all their criminals go. Kevin asks, mailbag question, should President Trump make power plants and Bridge Day a paid federal holiday? Normal people could celebrate with family gatherings. The Democrats could probably self-immolate and jump off bridges. Well, Kevin, I like the way you think, I've got to say. Power plant and Bridge Day. Yeah. Well, we'd have to go. We got to take out the power plants and the bridges. All war crimes. 25th Amendment, impeachment. The Democrat war is against the Democrat war. The Democrat Party is at war against us. Yeah, I think power plant and Bridge Day could be fun. Democrat, anything for more Democrats to self-immolate. I have several more questions coming up. Mailbag. I've got 6 hours of content for today. Tell the network we're running over. Good stuff. Yes, power plant and Bridge Day. They should have that in Iran. We'll have it in Iran first, and then we'll move it here. That's good. Beardo. Like weirdo, but with a beard. Beardo says, Chris, we all know that Western European leadership has become a blob of feckless, pusillanimous worms, except, of course, for the French, who have always been feckless, pusillanimous worms. But is it possible that European leadership is more afraid of their radical Islamist occupiers than they are of Iranian ballistic missiles and high energy costs? I have yet to hear anyone explore this theory. I have talked about the fact that in Great Britain and the Prime Minister and the Mayor of London, and they're quaking in fear in their moccasins. Their moccasins were gifts from the Islamists, from their local, their Ummah, their Muslim community there. And, yeah, it's definitely possible that the feckless, pusillanimous Europeans are more worried about, afraid of their radical Islamist occupiers, the Muslim population living in England, living in France, and they plan on taking over the culture. And you can listen to a lot of their leaders will say truthfully, In England now, the number one name for a newborn boy is Mohammed, and the number two name for a newborn boy is Mohammed by a different spelling of Mohammed. And the Islamists are planning on taking over Western civilization and doing it without having to lift a sword. And the Democrats are doing it in Congress in the United States. Here in the United States, we have the same thing happening. The left is, they've got this, a jihadi is the mayor of New York. Oh, yeah, there's another funny him story because he's doing so many ridiculous things. But there is another funny him story because today, Zohran Kwame Mamdani, communist, jihadi, genocidal, Jew hater, and mainstream Democrat in good standing with the Democrat Party. Mamdani says, and one of his big campaign promises was, all the buses in New York City will be free. They'll be free for everyone.
How are you getting that money, the $700 million to make the buses free, into the MCA if she's not for raising taxes?
You know, I think that the two clearest ways to raise that money is through the raising of the state's corporate tax to match that of New Jersey. I think that a lot of this is still a case to be made.
Yeah, it's still a case to be made. We're just going to raise taxes on corporations and their corporate buildings, and they're going to leave and go to Texas and Florida. And you guys are going to be escaped from New York, and the Warriors are going to take over. Warriors, come out and play. Because they're going the way of escape from New York and the Warriors in New York City, thanks to Zohran Mamdani.
Warriors, come out to play.
This is the way New York's heading.
Come out to play.
A very creepy job by that actor. It was very funny. Fun movie, Warriors. Yeah, Mamdani, and now Mamdani. Here's Mamdani today. Mamdani says free buses won't happen this year. Yeah, they won't happen any year because you're a lying communist jihadi Sacagawea. He's going to kill all the Jews and steal all their money. And his plan is to have a 50% inheritance tax. 1/2 of everything everybody has. As soon as you die, they're going to come steal it. The mayor defended the city council speaker from personal attacks and reflected on Trump's war with Iran in a wide-ranging interview with Politico. It's Trump. So wait a minute. So another one of your campaign promises goes by the wayside, and Trump is the problem. Like the gay bars. You know, like it's a lesbian bar in Washington, D.C. that is, nobody's coming in anymore, and they blame Trump. They blame Trump, which is pretty hilarious because it's about their, what is it, Michael? Oh, their mental illnesses. It's about their mental illnesses. And it turns out it's more complicated than that because apparently all across the country, gay bars are shutting down and going belly up. Can you say that in this context, going belly up at the gay bars? Because then tickle faster, something like that. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, it turns out that there's another article that gay bars are going belly up, going bankrupt all over the country, from coast to coast. It's not just one lesbian bar in Madams, Oregon. It's all over the country. Isn't that amazing? And the Democrats, what do they make of all that? What do you think of that? I'm telling you. Yeah, and it's, what is it? Oh, it's them. I think is that a gay site of some kind? I think it is. And the them from Macri Park to Ginger's, all the gay bars that have closed in the last year. And they got a big story on how gay bars are closing all across the country. Maybe it's because of monkeypox. You ever think of that? Might be monkeypox. Maybe it's because they have these apps like Dumpster Me Now. You know, is that one of the apps? I think it's Dumpster Me Now. Could be. All right. So we got that. Now, again, I kind of left Beardo hanging here. Is it possible the European leadership more afraid of their Islamist occupiers than Iranian ballistic missiles and high energy costs? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Yes, they are. Yeah, they're terrified of the Islamic population living among them, who are rising up in number and in influence. And in Washington, D.C., the Democrat Party, they're rising up. You know, they got this Abdul for Senate in Michigan, who's hanging out with the genocidal Jew hater while they call everybody else genocidal. They hang out with actual genocidal racists because they're all mentally ill. But yeah, and Ilhan Omar, who would have her sun-bleached bones picked apart by black scorpions in the wind-blown sands of the Somali desert, were it not for the United States, and still she attacks us. Isn't she amazing? And last main question here. Nick says, I want to know if Larry O'Connor, who does the morning show here on WMAL, and we're all great friends, I want to know if Larry, Vince, and you talk about what y'all talk about. I like the current topics, y'all being individually, right? I like the current topics, y'all being individually. Great show, he says. But I want to know if Larry, Vince, and you, and Derek in the afternoon, too, but he comes after. He's 3 to 6 here on WMAL. The greatest radio talk station in the United States of America, and that means the world, to be completely humble about it. But Nick says, and I've heard this before, I want to know if Larry, Vince, and you talk about what you're all going to talk about. The answer is no. No, we really don't. We don't. I listen to some of Larry's show in the morning before I come in. I listen to Vince's show after I leave because I'm on for the 3 hours in between. But there is no discussion or coordination or sharing of anything. What was the line Vince used, the funny word that he used the other day that I've been using of his? And whenever I use something of Vince's on the radio or of Larry's on the radio, I say that's from Vince. He had a funny line the other day that I've been using. But if I ever use something from Vince, I say, yeah, Vince said that, and I used Vince's joke or I used Larry's joke. And if I cite something Derek says, our afternoon drive guy, then I mention it too. But Vince took one of the liberal causes. Oh, it's Bluesky. Blue Sky, the left-wing Twitter. Vince calls it Bluesky. And I thought that was funny. I heard it when I was driving, and I laughed. And then if I use it, I got to cite Vince because it's his stuff. And if I use Larry's jokes, I have to cite Larry because they're his jokes. I wouldn't steal. I wouldn't poach, right? And one more. And no, but we really don't. There's none of that. There's none of that at all. I think Vince might put out a stories sheet in the morning, but I got to say I would consider that to be poaching. So I really don't do that. Now, and then one mailed-in mailbag from Hormuz, Chicago. Greetings, Chris. On a recent radio show, you said that I might be homosexual, but I'm not gay. I am straight. May God bless you and your listeners. Awaiting 72 raisins. Signed Hormuz. So on a recent radio show, you said that I might be homosexual. I am not gay. I am straight. And that's because, see, he's Hormuz in Chicago. He's the Strait of Hormuz. And we had a line because what's the guy's name that talked to the idiots rallying on the mall? We played this, and this might be what Hormuz, Chicago is talking about, awaiting 72 raisins. Oh, it was Lionel Lead out interviewing Democrats on the street, and they were protesting against Trump and against, this and that. But the Strait of Hormuz, and so this guy, he went out and he's talking to liberals on the street, and he found this woman, looked like a perfectly normal woman, seemed to be an attractive, intelligent person, and then he walked up to her and said, hey, what about this?
Isn't it a little bit homophobic that we're so focused on the Straits of Hormuz and not the gays of Hormuz?
Yes, I agree. Yes, for sure.
Why do you think they're willing to leave the gays of Hormuz behind?
I think it's just historically, gays have always been very discriminated against, which is wrong on so many levels.
Even in war.
Yeah, even in war. It just takes more reform in government, obviously, and then also educating society.
I just feel like if we're going to go in there, we can't leave the gay people behind.
Right.
I don't think we should go in there at all, but if we're going to, the gays of Hormuz, we could turn it into Fire Island.
For sure.
For sure. Fire Island, huge gay destination, New York City, a small island in the New York metropolitan area. We could turn it into Fire Island, and that's a fake German accent that he's taken on. By the way, Lionel Leeds, very funny. Lionel Leeds, I would buy Lionel Leeds a beer for that one because that was hilarious. The German accent, and everybody's talking about the Strait of Hormuz, and half the people say the Straits of Hormuz. But what about the Gays of Hormuz? Ooh, that's very funny. All right, crazy. With that said, let's just great stuff. I do enjoy Mailbag. It's a lot of fun, and jury duty, and do we conspire with one another? No, we don't. And the Strait of Hormuz, Chicago, who's awaiting 72 raisins, because that's a great story too. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to D. D, like the letter D, calling from the Garden State of New Jersey. D, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris Plant. Thanks for taking my call.
You betcha.
You know, Rush Limbaugh was my best friend that I never met, and I was devastated when we lost him. But boy, are you filling a void? I got to tell you, I love your show. The reason I called is is it Rouhani? Didn't he just say a little while back, like days ago, that we should follow Obama's plan with Iran?
Yeah, he did.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he said. Yeah, he said Obama got rid of 90% of their uranium, which was a lie, and that Obama made it all better. Obama funded them. Obama allowed them to spin centrifuges, enrich uranium, extend the range of their ballistic missiles. Barack Obama is the number one funder of radical Islam in the world today.
And I remember back then reports of John Kerry handling all of this and just going there and getting yelled at. Remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
right?
and Boltneck, and he took a little time off from fixing the weather. In fact, yeah, I think we saw the corpulent Albert Gore emerge somewhere the other day without his now former wife, Tipper Gore. They're not good at this whole marriage and love thing, love and marriage.
You know, when I don't have TDS, so I look at what Trump's doing as going to Iran and saying, here's your options, and we're really going to do. And what are they going to do? Say, oh, no, we're still going to keep fighting until everything is gone? And they know Trump is going to react to it, so, I got to. It's amazing to watch. It's a time to be alive, Chris. The moon. We got Iran. We got our 250th anniversary. I just love it, and I love you.
That is great. Well, that's wonderful. I love you back. You're very kind. Thank you very much.
I love your truth and your humor. You're the top. And because of Rush, I found you. Because of you, I found Larry and Julie and, all the other great people at your station. So thank you, Chris.
No, you're very, very welcome. I'm very happy to hear you say that. That's very kind. We've got a lot of crazy people out there, and it's nice to meet and talk to normal people like you with so much craziness in the world. But you're right, Dee. The truth. The truth is the most important thing, and the Democrats, boy, are they not fans of the truth. They're really just not truth people, are they?
No, they are not.
They are not.
They're Democrats.
Yes, they are. But we'll keep telling it here, Dee. We'll keep telling the truth here, and we'll keep making fun of them, and we'll keep being happy and having fun telling the truth, right?
Exactly. God bless you, Chris.
Well, thank you so much, Dee. Thank you very kindly. Isn't that sweet? Isn't that wonderful? Dee, God bless you. That's just great. Yes, sir. I can't believe another 3 hours. As there's more news, we're going to pack in as much more news and madness as we can with the time that we have remaining. What with the Earth rotating and all that stuff. The patriarchy figured out that whole Earth rotating thing. Did you know that? It was the patriarchy. Yeah. We should undo that daylight saving, though, shouldn't we? we did the time zones because we figured it all out. You're welcome.
The person who got the enriched uranium out was President Obama. He had 97% of it out. Then Donald Trump tore up the deals.
Apparently, Eric Swalwell, the Democrat congressman who's an agent of the Chinese intelligence apparatus, and Fang Fang. Eric Swalwell has apparently been cheating on Fang Fang. Have you heard about this? Swalwell campaign rejects outrageous allegations of sexual misconduct as Dem activists issue viral warning. Is there a viral warning? Is it monkeypox? Because that's a viral warning that the Democrats are spreading. Accuser Cheyenne Hunt claims women, plural, have contacted her with similar experiences about the Democratic congressman who's running for governor of California. And Cheyenne Hunt says, I've been working with a number of women, and I've heard about this elsewhere, who are in the process of coming forward and sharing their stories of sexual harassment and even sexual abuse at the hands of Eric Swalwell, Democrat California congressman. Here's why we're talking about before the mainstream media, because the Democrat media won't talk about it. They're trying to get a Democrat elected governor of California so they can finish the place off permanently. And Councilwoman Vicky Palladino out of New York. The thing about all these Eric Swalwell revelations, a whole bunch of women are coming forward to explain that they have been groped and abused and misused and harassed by Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell from California. It's perfectly normal behavior for Democrats, but talking about all these Eric Swalwell revelations is that all of them were known for years, but the media worked with the Democratic establishment to keep them quiet as long as Swalwell was useful. Now, because the California governor's race has become a fiasco and might actually lead to a Republican winning unless a couple of Dems drop out to consolidate their crooked vote, he needs to go. And like clockwork, here comes the orchestrated campaign of sexual harassment claims to end his career. It's a ridiculous business. Crazy stuff. I didn't get to the story in the Hill, why so many Americans now sympathize with the villain. And the answer is Democrats. One-word answer there, pretty simple. Democrats. Michigan, the Republicans won in Georgia. I'll be back tomorrow.